Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. So for this video, we are going to be going over my Dragonflight patch 10.2.7 Fury Warrior PvP guide. And this is pretty exciting because you can actually play Fury, and I think it's not bad right now. I don't think it's necessarily better than Arms, but without sort of like poo-pooing the build right off the bat too much, now Fury actually pumps. Like I'm doing RBGs and I'm doing like top damage against like boomkins and the actual normal arenas. Like your oftentimes top damage is Fury. And this is at a time where Arms is definitely bringing the damage and can top damage, but I don't know. Fury's doing something else right now, man. Fury's pumping. And I'm playing some kind of freaky builds. I made a video where I called it like an illegal Fury build, and I guess we can get into why exactly that is, because you're playing Ravager, and like Ravager in PvP is just so strange, because it's like you throw down your weapon and it spins around and kind of slowly chases stuff, and it's just so weird and such a meme. But due to the talent Hurricane, you get a strength and damage, or sorry, you get a strength and movement speed stacking buff, and so it's like, and it gives you rage, and you know, a lot of your damage right now is loaded up in Rampage, so it actually is kind of strangely effective. I kind of want to show you that build. I guess first things first, let's go over the talents, because that's just an easy place to start, and we're talking about it anyway. So on the warrior side of things, I think it looks pretty standard. There's not a lot of things that I'm taking or not taking that are real weird. One thing that you'll notice is I have moved points out of Frothing Berserker, which is kind of a nice thing to have as Fury, but I would have to give up like movement speed, or have to give up like something over here that I really want to make sure I get down into Shockwave. I can't give up like really any of this stuff without it feeling weird. Maybe you could give this up. You give up the cooldown of Raging Blow and Pummel if you would like to have like the small chance of Rage refund. Which does feel kind of nice. I just went for the cooldown of Raging Blow, but this is also the cooldown of Pummel, which feels nice. I might experiment with this just because Rage and Rampaging is just so important, right? So I might try this for a little bit, but you can also put that point in Honed Reflexes. You could put it over in Concussive Blows or Sidearm if you just like wanted just more damage. You just wanted to just, you know, don't care about breaking CC, just chuck damage at people. That's always kind of fun too. You have different places you can put that last little talent. But anyway, aside from like a flex point here and there, you are going for all the utility that you get with Intervene, Rallying Cry, Leeching Strikes, Furious Blows, Stormbolt, going through Barbaric Training and Endurance Training to get Shockwave. Then you need all this stuff. You need Spell Reflection, you need Leap, you need Fear, you need Improved Leap, Double Charge. It would make really not much sense to like pass up on just 5% damage while dual wielding as Fury. We're going into Wild Strikes and Thunderous Roar with Thunderous Words. You could do some spear stuff, and we were talking about that on stream. The only weird thing is you take out points in Wild Strikes, which is you take out haste and auto attack speed, which is great for Fury, in exchange for increased critical strike chance and critical damage of Execute, which is really not something that you're going to get much value out of. Hardly even press Execute right now as this build. But locking somebody down in Spear, benefiting from extra crit damage with Ravager is kind of cool. But I think that Roar is just a safe, good bet. And again, regardless of whether you take Frothing Berserker, you're going from Leap into Pain and Gain, Reinforced Plates, Armor to the Teeth, Avatar, using the activating Avatar or Recklessness, cast the other one at reduced effectiveness. The reason why that is because we are really leaning into anger management with this build, not Odin's Fury. I love the feeling of pressing Avatar. Boom! A huge Odin's Fury goes off, like gives you a cool effect and initial burst off of your cooldowns, but you're going to be pressing Recklessness really frequently, and having a little bit of an Avatar as part of that initial burst from Rec is going to be very nice to have. So it's less important that you get Recklessness from Avatar, but more important you get Avatar from Rec, so you want that. And then of course just, you know, taking all this stuff too. Now over here, we are going from a Fury playstyle that was super heavily leaning into Bloodthirst and Annihilator and Odin's Fury to the complete other side of the tree, where we're doing a whole lot of Raging Blow stuff. Again, if you attack a dummy or attack somebody in PvP and you look at your breakdown, except for this isn't a good example, is it? Rampage is going to be like way like most of your damage, and then there's going to be everything else that's kind of like in like a small curve, and then just huge Rampage. So looking at that, you understand that you're going to want to be doing Rampage for your damage, and that's the case with Fury anyway. It's just that now our set bonus actually buffs the damage and critical strike chance of Rampage. And then using Rampage frequently also causes your next Bloodthirst to deal more damage and have an additional chance to crit and give you more rage. So more Rampage is good. And this whole build is sort of built around giving us a lot of extra Rampage uses and Rampage damage. And then a teeny bit of making use of that increased chance to crit off of our Bloodthirst. So let's have a look. So I'm going to go down the right side of the tree first, just because that ends up making sense, I think, because we invest in Raging Blow, or damage from Raging Blow, or damage from Raging Blow while enraged, and has a chance to reset its own cooldown. Along with, I actually do think this third charge of Raging Blow is kind of nice. Then we go into Critical Thinking, which is just crit chance, and making a Raging Blow deal more crit damage. So when we're pressing Rec, we have all this extra crit chance. You crit, it does a little more damage, which is cool. Then we have the illegal part of the build, Ravager, with a 1.5 minute cooldown. The Authority weapon, it swirls around. It does a pretty good amount of damage. People stand in it over 10 seconds, but they often won't. The cool thing is it does give you rage each time it deals damage, and even if it's not hitting anybody at all, you just chuck it on the roof because your targeting reticle messed up. You still get Hurricane, which is Ravager giving you 5% movement speed. Then 5% strength, stacking up every 0.8 seconds, stack up to 6 times, so you're stacking up to like 30% movement speed, 30% strength at the top end. Pretty juicy. And that's if you miss everybody. You could play this talent where it does less damage, but it gives you more rage per tick, and there's 2 charges of it. I haven't played with this yet, but I mean, if you were going to play the spear build, you may even want to consider doing this, because you would be guaranteed to get the full value of that 20 rage each time it deals damage, because people are going to be stuck in a spear. So if you're going to go that route, you would take these points out, put these points in. You would probably change from Hurricane into Storm of Steel and really look to make sure people are getting ticked by your Ravager to get a bunch of rage off of it. I'm going to go down the middle here. So in Rage Regen, I'm taking both the things that are kind of defensive. Of course, you want to take War Paint, taking 10% reduced damage while enraged. Super important. But having your Enraged Regen last a little longer and instantly heal you for a little bit is nice, because you can. This is one of the things that you can use in a stun. So getting some HP back immediately is nice. Then being able to use like one more Bloodthirst during it for extra healing is nice. Rampage, you have to take that. Taking Frenzy, where whenever you Rampage a target, you get a stacking haste buff. It does reset whenever you attack something else, but still really nice to stack that haste up. Another mandatory one is Slaughtering Strikes. This is huge. So Raging Blow causes every strike of your next Rampage to deal an additional 20% damage, stacking up to 5 times. This is a talent you would not take, really. Like, maybe you would, but it doesn't really do anything when you're using Annihilator, which we used to use. But look at the difference. Annihilator caused every strike of Rampage to deal an extra 2% damage. Whereas without Annihilator, Raging Blow makes it deal 20% extra damage per stack. So you're going from 10% extra damage to 100% extra damage. This is insane. Another really nice quality of life talent that I use for single target stuff is Hack and Slash. You have 3 stacks of Raging Blow. Using Raging Blow sometimes causes it to reset itself. This means that you really have that effect of Fury where you never run out of buttons to press. Because Rampage pretty much just like fills your Raging Blow stacks to the top every time you press Rampage. And then you're just spamming this again. So if you get the idea, Fury is a pretty spammy build in general, and so you were spamming the heck out of Raging Blow, dumping Rage with Rampage, then you go back to like a fully stacked 3 stacks of Raging Blow, just go back to work, which is pretty fun. So you have Wreck, of course, you have Swift Strike, so you have Haste here and Haste here, and this is also giving you an additional 2 Rage from Raging Blow, which you're spamming anyway, so it's a lot of Rage income. Now here's one of the other things that's changing from the builds that we've played in the past. We used to empower our Bloodthirst with Reckless Abandon, but now we're playing Anger Management. So Anger Management, every 20 rage you spend, which you're doing frequently with Rampage, reduces the remaining cooldown of Wreck and Ravager by 1 second. So that means that you're more frequently getting Recklessness, which means you're more frequently getting Avatar for more damage. And we are actually using Ravager here, so we're getting the benefit, the full benefit of that talent, right? Ravager cooldown reduced, Recklessness cooldown reduced, and then of course we still want to be proccing Recklessness with Rampage and Onslaught for the crit chance, of course, but also the increased rage generation, which is very important, right? All rage generation increased by 100%. So again, the more Recklessness you proc, the more Recklessness you use, the more rage you're spending, which will reduce the cooldown of Recklessness some more, and you can use that for more Avatar and more Ravager. Nuts. Really cool synergy. Now we're going over to this side, improved in Rage, we got Bloodthirst, we got Focus in Chaos. Now, when I first started playing this season, I was very bad about pressing Bloodthirst enough. But now we're going to be a little bit more heads up about it and try to make sure that we use Bloodthirst every once in a while. One, to consume that massive hit of damage on Bloodthirst when it's stacked up. And two, to benefit from the increased crit chance to get Cold Steel Hot Blood application, which is more damage going out, but also more healing going back to you. And then when I'm playing this single target build in particular, I have points to play around with. I'll go ahead and put it in Bloodborne so that buffing Thunderous Roar is kind of whatever, but it's also buffing Gushing Wound, which gives us more damage and more healing. So I'm not in love with this talent. I just don't really love putting it really much anywhere else. But let's go ahead and just save this real quick because I do want to try this build with this. But if we wanted to go to an AoE focused build, like if you're fighting like a melee cleave, you might want to consider going into an AoE build, which takes out, as you can see, points in Bloodborne, and it even takes out points out of Hack and Slash, which I'm not even really sure I love. I might even take out 1 point in Meat Cleaver and put back in Hack and Slash. It just feels so good to have Raging Blow, just like have the complete stacks refilled. But in a melee cleave situation, cleaving your Mortal Strike debuff around on all the different targets is really, really nice. But I think most of the time, I'm probably going to focus on playing a more of a single target Fury build. Now, I will mention, if you wanted to play Spear, like I said, you would just take these points out, put in Spear. You'd probably take Hurricane out and put it in Storm of Steel. If you say, I don't care, I don't want to play Ravager, Ravager's whack, Ravager's for PvE, I don't want this goofy looking talent just running and trying to chase people down, what you can do is you can play Odin's Fury. And what you're doing with Odin's Fury is you're just taking the points out of Critical Thinking, then you're putting them into the 2 Whirlwinds, you're taking the points out of Ravager and whatever other Ravager enhancement you decided to go for, and you just drop it in Odin's Fury, right? The reason I'm deciding to go with the improved Whirlwind here is because you can just use it so that Odin's Fury always enrages you, deals more damage, and gives you stacks of Whirlwind for cleave. Now, if you didn't want to play this for some reason, you could put these points somewhere else. I just don't really know where. Maybe you would do Vicious Contempt to really pop somebody if they're low health, if it's like a single target situation. Maybe that's what I would do, is you just try to make sure your Bloodthirst is being used at low health and just blast somebody with it. And I just put 2 points there instead of 2 points in the AoE, and those would be your options there. Most of the time, I'm probably playing this one right now, though. The single target, Fury Ravager, illegal PvP build. Now, in terms of PvP talents for Fury, you're pretty much always going to use Slaughterhouse, unless there is someone on your team who can reliably apply a Mortal Strike, and that's a lot of classes. So like in Solo Shuffle or something like that, you might want to opt against Slaughterhouse, and then you have another talent to play. I think that this particular build, a mandatory talent is Battle Trance. You go into a trance, causing you to generate 3% of your health and 3 rage every 3 seconds for 18 seconds after using Raging Blow twice in a row on 1 target. Attacking a new target with Raging Blow will cancel this effect. It's fine. We have a ton of charges of Raging Blow. Just go bang, bang, and then you have Battle Trance, giving you health, giving you rage all the time. So nice. This is like always used. Slaughterhouse is almost always used unless you have somebody else in like a Solo Shuffle who's going to be putting debuffs on people. Now, for this build, this is some also like forbidden tech. This is some forgotten technology. Storm of Destruction with Ravager makes it so that if you have really, really good uptime, you can almost Ravager, and then once Ravager's over, you Piercing Howl, and then you can dang near, when Piercing Howl is over, Ravager again. So people are like permanently slowed for 70%. I feel like this is kind of a fun talent also because it will give you more frequent uses of Hurricane and just a whole lot of rage generation. Now, of course, Ravager is kind of annoying. It doesn't always hit, you drop a Ravager, somebody just uses a mobility skill, just like, poofs out of there. Then your Ravager's kind of like just spinning in a circle, trying to chase somebody super slow. If that annoys you too much, then just use something else. Enduring Rage is another good option. You have a chance to become enraged while you're suffering movement impairing effects. I believe this is even just like slows. And then while enraged, suffering a loss of control effects have a chance to grant you wreck for 4 seconds. Like, this talent seems kind of weird to me, but it does feel kind of good to use randomly. So I could use that over like Slaughterhouse at some point. Another talent that I think is kind of like super underrated just for your own utility is Blood Rage. Like, you give up 5% of your max health to gain 40 rage over 4 seconds, and all snares and roots are cleared from you. That's really, really nice. It's a 20-second cooldown to get out of snares and roots, and just rage generation for yourself too, which is pretty cool. Safeguard is also really, really, really good for like team utility. Intervene has 2 charges, and it gives your ally that you intervene 20% reduced damage taken for 5 seconds. Huge, huge. It does increase the cooldown of your intervene by a little bit, but that's massive. Battlefield Commander is always kind of nice. Use this in like an RBG situation. Gives Battle Shout, you know, makes your teammates give stamina. Makes Berserker Shot a longer cooldown or longer range if you decide to use that. Rallying Cry gives you a movement speed buff. Thunderous Roar makes everybody do more damage to your target, so that's another good one. But those would probably be the ones that I would consider. Storm Resurrection is kind of interesting. I think Enduring Rage is pretty neat. Blood Rage is nice for getting yourself out of stuff. And Battlefield Commander is good. If you're absolutely nuts and you have like people that you're doing PGs with, then throw on Death Wish. Have some fun with that. That's a really fun talent too. But in general, this kind of setup I think is about right. Blood Rage also feels really, really good. I think having a shorter cooldown on Ravager is kind of funny for this particular build. But this talent setup is nice for single target. Again, if you wanted to do a more like AoE thing, you take out the points here and here and go into the cleave, a Whirlwind Cleave. And then if you wanted to do Odin's Fury because you hate Ravager, you just move these points out, put these points in, and then you can move these points kind of wherever you want. Single target, I would probably recommend Vicious Contempt there. And that's a fine build too. I'm going to change this so I have that be absolutely clear. All right. Now, we can talk about gear a little bit. So Fury loves mastery. Fury loves versatility too. And turns out you can get a whole lot of that from PvP gear. But I'm even going to be getting a little bit of PvE gear mixed up in here, so take a look at it. Fury doesn't need a lot of crit, but it's going to get a little bit of crit. Just because that's just what's on some of the gear that I'm getting. Like Fearlath has crit. This particular Seal of Diana's Chosen has crit. This is a proccing fire damage upon doing fire damage proc thing. And Fearlath is always doing fire damage. This is going to just do a little bit of extra damage, which is fun. You also have crit on your legs, and if you're playing human like me and you're using double DPS trinkets every game, then you're going to be using crit here as well. I'm not really adding crit, but this crit happens, you know? I am using the Blue Silken Lining, which gives you the Zone of Focus thing. Whenever you're above 90% health, you get a nice big chunk of mastery. Very nice in 2s when you're not getting hit. Very nice in RBGs when you're not getting hit. So, pretty nuts. I am using the full 4 set, where Rampage and Rampage damage and critical strike chance are both increased, along with, like we said, Bloodthirst having a stacking up to 10 chance, or 12% increased critical strike chance, and extra damage. Of course, these numbers are cut in half in PvP, so keep that in mind, but still. I am looking for lots of versatility and mastery on my gear. If I can't get it, then you just got to go with maybe like haste. I think I bought this for arms, or maybe even, yeah. We might want to get the mastery one for this anyway. I might change that up. Likely will. But I did buy some gear for arms, but just recently after the buffs, I've been playing some Fury, which is fun. I love playing Fury. Got the chest piece on there. Versatility, mastery, bracers. We're enchanting bracers and cloak with speed. Gloves are tier. Belt is verse mastery. Our boots are verse mastery. My rings are going to be this one, which is crit verse Diurna's. And then I'm going to buy the other PvE ring with bullions that gives me a shield upon dealing fire damage. Then I have the PvP trinkets, and eventually I'll probably replace this world PvP weapon with really a fully upgraded Fearlath and Ashkander's with the bullions would be ideal. But until then, I'll probably just have a Verse Mastery PvP weapon. And if you wanted to just have 2 Verse Mastery PvP weapons, that would be fine. My stats, again, sort of end up being pretty dang high on Verse. I'll show it to you on the PvP dummy. Pretty dang high on Verse. We still have room for more mastery. We'll still have room for more haste, but you proc plenty of haste just hitting stuff. And you know. So we are going to pump this guy, and we'll see my stats get kind of nutty. We have 50% mastery, 50% haste. Still have 22% crit, but we've got all this recklessness proccing, so we ain't worried about that. With 43% verse, and my my verse is gonna come down to like maybe a little bit more. My mastery, I think, is gonna stay about the same. My haste is gonna come up just a little bit, but then I think my mastery will come up more because I'm gonna drop the haste off my cloak for mastery, for Fury that is. For arms, I don't mind having a little bit of haste, but that's pretty much how it works. You drop Ravager, You pop your kind of like wreck avatar macro. Make sure you're enraged. And drop your Dragon's Roar and just keep pumping. Rampage whenever you can. Outside of that, you're hitting Raging Blow. Once you get enough stacks to crit, maybe, you can whack somebody with a Bloodthirst there. And outside of that, it's good old Fury just training something down and hammering Raging Blow. You can notice I use all my stacks. Rampage, I got 2 stacks back there. Rex back up. Wreck, Avatar, Onslaught. Back to work. Pretty straightforward. But it's fun. It's fun. I feel like we've covered talents, honor talents, gear along with stats, general basic rotation stuff. Anything else that you guys need to know for getting yourself started in Fury PvP? The finger's not worth it if you don't have legendary weapon? Yeah, probably not. And you get disarmed as GG? Yeah, except Ravager's still pumping people. Anything else? What am I dealing 148k damage with? Could be a number of things. Could be Bloodthirst hitting pretty hard. It could be Onslaught hitting pretty hard. Those are the big hits. Enchants, maybe? Yeah, I would just go double Sophic. Double Sophic on weapons. Think Spear is viable? You could try it. We talked about it a little bit. It wouldn't be a big thing. Yeah. Single instance, yeah, it's very likely. Like that right there is Onslaught. Dragon Roar may also hit kind of hard. I mean, Rampage dunks too if it crits, right? This is still out in the world. I don't think my set bonus is being nerfed, just hitting the dummy. But yeah, then Bloodthirst pops people too. Use haste for more unbridled ferocity procs. You could. I think hitting harder is probably better in PvP. They're pumping. We're pumping. But yeah, that's Fury, guys. That hopefully should be enough to get you guys started. It's kind of a freaky build with using Ravager and stuff, but I do think it probably still might be the best. If you hate Ravager, play the Odin's Fury variant. It'll probably be just fine. You're just not getting the anger management value off of Ravager, but you still are going to be doing all the same stuff with your actual rotation. You just probably have a little bit more on-demand, upfront burst with Odin's Fury. All right? That'll do it. That'll do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you show it some love on YouTube. Also, make sure you guys swing by Twitch and come hang out on the daily, as we'll be tearing up in Arms and Fury PvP. Just wrapped up the Fury guide. We're going to go ahead and record the Arms guide right now on stream too. So if you're watching on YouTube, stay tuned for the Arms guide soon. If you're watching on Twitch, stay right here. We're about to get into it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.